Hey there, it's John Ray, and today I wanted to talk about playing the fool or being willing to look foolish. Just got off of a call with one of my coaches, and we were talking about what it looks like to unhook from smart guy persona and be willing to kind of be in that more vulnerable place of not knowing, or the fool who trusts, the fool who has faith. And there's a lot of energetic power in being able to sit in that place of uncertainty and not have to know how every single mechanized thing is going to come together. And if you've been following this channel for any length of time, you know that I believe that we live in a consciousness simulation program that is rendering itself based on the emotional energy that is running through our avatar. And when we have past trauma, or when we have had expectations in the past that were not met, what happens is that we freeze dry some of that trauma in our system, and it prevents the energy from moving through our perceptive vehicle, or our meat suit. It prevents us from having clear perception or a deep awareness. And this oftentimes shows up as a kind of PTSD, where because an expectation wasn't met in the past, we now map that onto the present moment and the future, and we assume that it will play out in the same way. And so, in order for our ego or our mind to fend off against having to go through an uncomfortable scenario again, we try to figure things out. We lean on our intelligence to protect us from our naivete or our ignorance. And that is an appropriate way to process things. But if we're really wanting to ratchet things up and work with things at the consciousness simulation level, my sense is that there is a deeper level of engagement that we can have with that consciousness realm. And so I know I'm getting a little bit woo-woo and mystical here, but that's because my mission right now is to move into the magician role, to be a wizard, to operate as a Gandalf. And if you've ever read anything about Merlin or watched any of the Lord of the Rings movies and seen how Gandalf operates, there's a kind of aloofness to the wizard. There's a kind of playful ignorance, and almost a willingness to step into the fool role in order to be an appropriate mirror for those around them. And that neutral stance of not needing to have everything figured out, of being able to move into a place of faith that the simulation is rendering in a way that is benevolent to our own personal growth, if we can tune into it at that level. And anytime, the more resistance we have towards the concept that reality is ultimately benevolent, the more that reality is going to render itself to that belief system, because our emotional trauma creates defense mechanisms or belief systems that then map onto reality. And so it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And this is where, the idea of you are what you eat, or you create your own reality, or your thoughts become reality. Your thoughts are a derivative of the emotional energy happening in your body. And in mindfulness meditation, we can actually get underneath our thoughts and into the actual energy that is producing that derivative layer. And when we start to work with things at that energy, feeling, emotional energy level, we have much more leverage over how the simulation renders itself. And so for me, I'm examining my own defense mechanism of needing to understand every single aspect of something that I'm going to get involved in. Now, it's fun for me to figure out that puzzle. It's fun for me to be able to explain things to other people. But a lot of times that can produce more resistance that creates a lag time in reality on being able to render the situations that we actually want. And so it takes us longer to get what we want because we're trying to figure out every single detail instead of quantum leaping directly into the experience. And so if you're familiar with Bashar or the channelings of Daryl Anka, he talks about reality being rendered, basically a billion times a second. So if you think about a film reel is actually 24 still images that are running through a projector, and the light of the projector, and in reality, the light of our consciousness, the light moving through those still images and the motion of those still images creates the illusion of motion. And so reality is a billion still images or a billion kind of screenshots or snapshots of a reality experience. And the frame rate is a billion times a second, or something akin to that. And at any given moment in time, the next frames in the rendering experience of this projection of life that we're putting on the movie screen out here is showing us something about the way that energy is moving in our body. And when we need to have a deep understanding of everything before we feel comfortable making a move, when we can't trust our gut, when we're wishy-washy in our decisions, when we are indecisive in our choices, when we let reality happen to us instead of making a proactive choice, these are all indicators that we're relying more on intellect than on our true magician nature and our true ability to become the void that manifests the reality around us. And so I know that I'm using a lot of vague language here, and really I'm just trying to work out some of the language for myself. But the idea is that when we can choose the thing that we know we should choose, when we can choose that gut feeling that feels right, when we can trust that reality has our best interests in mind, and that those best interests don't always mean sunshine and roses. Sometimes what we need to do is confront a difficult situation or feel through some discomfort in our body. And so the emotional guidance system that we have to navigate the consciousness simulation that we're in, the way that I believe it works and the way that I've experienced in my own life is that reality is a mirror that will trigger within us anything that is preventing us from getting the feeling that we ultimately are longing for. So whatever physical, tangible, material, mechanized thing we're desiring, there's a way that we think that thing will make us feel. And that is what we want to tune into. The details of how that feeling comes about are less important than the feeling of, it feels so satisfying to have this thing. And then if there is any resistance that comes up, like, yeah, but I have to do this. Yeah, but this is how it actually is. All of that resistance creates a lag time that prevents reality from rendering the events, coincidences, and synchronicity that would allow us to experience that feeling of satisfaction right away. And so part of being present is getting out of the mechanized systems of the mind and into the body, where we can feel through any agitation that doesn't feel like imbalance. And when we can find that balance in our body, that's a neutral point. That means that energy can move through us at full capacity, and it allows us to actually render experiences in reality that are analogous to our desires or to our desired emotional state faster. So part of what I'm experimenting with is letting go of the smart guy intelligence. I want to be able to utilize my mind to navigate the clay of reality because I like having my hands in the clay. I like working out puzzles. I like making things happen. I like building things. However, where that can trip me up is when I don't move forward if I don't have a full understanding of something, because really the experiment of being the magician is a kind of jump and grow the wings on the way down type of scenario. And that's what I'm wanting to play with more and more. And it means that we have to draw clear boundaries on what is a true yes for us and a true no. And that's something that has been hard for me, because I have said yes to things that are maybe 80-90% aligned for me, but they're not 100% aligned. And it creates oftentimes a situation where people are trying to put a codependent tentacle into my energy. And then I get looped into a codependency with someone that then feels uncomfortable to say no to or to cut the cord on, because I no longer trust someone outside of myself to own their own feelings about the discomfort that will come from that. That is me not setting a clear boundary, not setting a standard for what is aligned and not aligned for me. And this week and moving forward, I'm going to do a better job of saying no to the things that are truly not aligned, so that I can open up space to render reality in a way that brings me the things that are a true hell yes. Because as long as we keep saying yes to things that are just 90% or just 80%, reality takes that as a signal that, oh, okay, they're okay with this. This is what they want to keep rendering, because anything that we say yes to becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where we get more and more of that. And when we decide to upgrade into more of a magician stance where we're only saying yes to things that are 100% aligned, the way that it has shown up in my own life as I'm making this transition is that life will give you a lot more 90% opportunities. It'll just start throwing them at you all over the place, because what it's saying is, are you sure? Are you sure you're ready to upgrade to the next level? And my hypothesis is that if I say no to the things that are not a full 100% yes, that then after a period of time, getting over that speed bumps, confirming with reality and the consciousness simulation that I am no longer going to choose things that are not 100% aligned. When I say no to those 90% opportunities enough times, then the 100% opportunities start to flow in. So that's the hypothesis that I'm throwing out there. Let me know what your experience has been in kind of playing with some of these vibrational ideas. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Hit that like button for the algorithm, of course. Subscribe if you're not subscribed. And let's hack reality together. Thanks. Bye.